Thank you, everybody, for joining. My name is Thierry Toga. I'm joined here with Catherine, and today we're going to be talking about Holborn Pass, a division of Holborn, and the Canada Startup Visa. And so the Canada Startup Visa, it offers entrepreneurs a unique chance to launch their business and gain permanent residency in Canada. So the agenda I have for you today, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Holborn Assets and Holborn Pass. We'll talk about residency by investment. Then I'll hand it over to Catherine, who's the head of our Canada SUV program, who'll tell you a little bit more about the program, the ins and outs, the process and the benefits. Then towards the end, we'll answer any questions you may have. So about Holborn Assets, we are a British family firm. We've been in business for over 25 years, over 20,000 clients worldwide, 18 international offices in 13 countries with 12 full regulatory licenses, over 500 staff members, and we currently manage just over 2 billion assets under management. So Holborn Pass is our citizenship and residency by investment division. And really, we are one of the international leaders in investor visas. And through our partnerships with prestigious law firms, developers, financial institutions, we're able to provide our clients comprehensive residency and citizenship solutions. Holborn Pass is part of the wider part of Holborn Assets Group. And one of our core values is integrity and transparency, which is very, very key when it comes to citizenship and residency by investment. Our main focus is whether it is to increase global mobility, developing business opportunities, or creating a more secure future for your families. We help our clients achieve these goals, and we put our clients' goals at the forefront of the business that we do. To date, we've helped over 500 families gain residency or citizenship. This amounts to over $300 million that has been invested through our CBI programs, of which $250 million has gone into property purchases in the last 3 years. And we've worked with over 40 different nationalities that we've helped secure golden visas. Now, when it comes to the Canada SUV startup program, it was launched in 2013. It was initially launched as a pilot program that was made permanent in 2018. And the program aims to attract Canada's talented entrepreneurs with innovative business ideas that will be launched in Canada that can create jobs for Canadians and have opportunities to scale up. So a little bit about me. I'm a senior wealth manager. I've been in the industry for just over 13 years. I'm Zimbabwean by birth. I'm based here in Canada. I did my education here in Canada. I've got my Bachelor of Commerce and my MBA in Finance from 2 Canadian institutions. And I also have my CISI International Wealth Management certificate. And now I'd like to hand it over to Catherine, who will tell us a little bit more about herself, and she'll go into the program itself.
Thank you, Thierry Toga. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. So the introduction was quite good. Thank you. Today, we'll speak more about what is the Canadian Startup Visa and the processing, what to expect, and the latest news in the immigration world in Canada. So a little bit about me. So just when Holborn was establishing in 1998, I was becoming a lawyer here in Canada. So I've been practicing for over 25 years myself. In the past 15 years, I've been only doing immigration to Canada for entrepreneurs and or investors wanting to migrate to Canada. I represent individuals directly, or I help agents or other lawyers with their applications. So I'm Canadian myself. I am also French by citizenship, and I currently live in Asia. But I'm always accessible. I'm right now in Vancouver, where it's 6 a.m. this morning. Yeah, you can turn to the page if you want. So why is it important that I'm a lawyer? Is that because IRCC, which is Immigration Canada, if you want, only authorize certain people to represent you if you want to be represented for your immigration application. Lawyers is one of the big categories that is authorized. So I became a lawyer and I'm in good standing with the Quebec Bar, which is the one on the left that you can see. So every year I need to make sure that I do mandatory training, that I pay for my license, and that I do many steps just in order to stay, to remain an active lawyer and in good standing with the bar. The three others are three big immigration lawyers associations I'm part of. So with these associations, lawyers such as myself make sure that we are up to date with everything. Sometimes we can even contact the government to discuss a few of the changes they're intending to make or that they have made, and to make sure that foreign nationals who apply for immigration to Canada are well treated. That means, being treated with fairness, because in Canada, it's the rule of law, so everybody should be treated fairly. So if you're here today at the webinar, it's because you're interested maybe in moving to Canada at some point. And so some of you may know about what Canada has to offer, but here's a quick glimpse. So Canada still has an excellent standard of living. People enjoy living here. Every year, any ranking you can see of places where people are happy and enjoy living, Canada is always like at the top of the list. So it's comfortable and still safe. When you are in Canada, you benefit from, can we stay on the other slide? Thank you. When we are in Canada, you can benefit from a public health care. So that means that you don't need to pay out of your pocket from the beginning. It's the universal health care. Every province is a bit different, but still it remains, one of the advantages of being in Canada. The other point on the left bottom is a free education until university level, before university level. So every child is allowed and should be enrolled in a school. Of course, we also have private institutions. And then after post-secondary educations, we have a lot of well-known universities. Some of you may know University of Toronto, University of British Columbia, McGill University. They're big names that rank high on the university all over the world. One thing that's interesting is that in Canada, we recognize couples even if they're not married. Okay, so if two partners are together and live as, say, a married couple, if this is the reference, Canada is happy to recognize this. So if you are with someone, you live together for many years, at least 1 year, you could be recognized in your application to bring your spouse with you, although you're not married. We also recognize same-sex union in Canada, which makes it like one of still, the not so many jurisdictions that do recognize this. After that, the two last points are about like the beauty of the landscapes and all the natural resources we have in Canada. As you know, it's a huge country. We have one ocean, Atlantic Ocean on one side and Pacific Ocean on the other side. So we have all the fresh water at the top. So, a lot of things can be done in Canada, and we're rich as a country because of all of this. Thank you, Thierry Toga. The startup visa is a visa, immigration program where when you apply for permanent residency from day one. Okay, it's currently the only immigration program in Canada where you apply for PR directly without having to secure another visa before. So that makes it quite unique. Up until last year, there were two programs, and right now there's only this one. So when you become a permanent resident in Canada, you have the same rights and pretty much all the same privileges as a Canadian, besides the fact that when you are a permanent resident in Canada, you cannot vote, you cannot run for office, and you would not have a passport because you're not a citizen yet. So when you become a permanent resident, so say you have applied with your spouse and maybe two children, everybody will become a permanent resident together at the same time in your family. But maybe all of you will not be in Canada as much. So it doesn't matter if you are thinking about, oh, will I be able to maintain my permanent PR, my permanent resident status or not? If my husband, was away of the country, it doesn't matter. As soon as you become a permanent resident, each member of the family will be assessed individually. So normally the children are enrolled in school. School is about 10 months out of 12. So it goes fast, for these children normally to meet their residency requirements. So the requirements are that you are in Canada at least 730 days, which is equivalent to 2 years, over the 5 years before you apply to renew your permanent residency if you wish to renew it. So as soon as you have 730 days, you could renew your permanent residency. So this is for those who are happy with just being a PR in Canada. I've seen clients who have done that like for 20 years because they don't need a passport. They're happy just being a permanent resident. They're not always in Canada. For those who would like to become a citizen, so it's the last box. Instead of having to spend 2 years in Canada, you need to spend 3. Okay, so 1,095 days. The 730 days for PR and this 1,095 days for citizenship does not have to be consecutive. Okay, so you could be 6 months in Canada, then go out and then come back for 3 months, go out, come back 2 weeks. The idea is just that you count your days. It's very important. And as I say to everybody that I represent, you don't submit your application the next day you've met the requirements. You allow for a little buffer just to make sure that both yourself and the government really see the days as they are and that you've counted correctly your days. So I've touched base regarding this a little bit, but here we talked about who you can include in your application for permanent residency in Canada. So first, if you have a spouse, a life partner, you can include that person. So whether you are married or just in a common law relationship. Common law relationship in Canada, they will ask that you've been together at least 1 year living together. You will need to show that you have joint accounts or insurance together, that maybe one of you paid the electricity for the flat or the house you're in and the other one pays for gas, things like this. They want to see maybe pictures of you going on trips. You could submit affidavits or letters from family members and friends establishing that they know you and that they know both of you and that you are in a relationship. And then you can add children. Okay, so biological or adopted children under 22 years of age. Okay, so that's the cutoff for Canada. So your application would have to be submitted before your child turns 22 if you want that child to be included with you to get the permanent residency. If you have a child that's 22 years old and above, but that has always depended on you and still depends on you financially because of physical or mental condition, then this child can also be added to the application with supporting evidence. Okay, so now we talk about the program itself. So this program, as Thierry Toga said, has been created to attract entrepreneurs, people willing and people able to come to Canada to start a business. And this business has to be innovative. So today with this program, we don't talk about a foreign national wanting to go to Canada to open up a restaurant, for example, or selling clothes. That would not qualify under the startup visa. Here, what they want is people coming to start tech ideas, new products. They want to attract people who have the skills to launch businesses with business idea that will change something in Canada, that brings something new to Canada, or that will solve a problem that we have in Canada. Okay, so the first thing is to have a qualifying business. You will have to launch, to establish a Canadian corporation, a Canadian company in Canada, and you must be one of the owner of this company. Because the business can be owned by more than one person, well, you need to have at least 10% of the voting rights, and the foreign nationals need to be at least 50%. With this business idea, this business that you want to create in Canada, you will have to secure the support from what we call a designated organization. Okay, so each year or constantly, ever since they've created this program, IRCC has designated entities that are able to support startups in Canada. Okay, they can be startups from Canadians in Canada, or startups from foreign nationals coming through this program. So the list is public. It's on the website. It's easy to find. It changes. So over a year ago on the list, there were 84 designated entities. Last time I've checked was 2 weeks ago. There were 73. Okay, because it's not that easy to be designated for them, these entities. They can lose a designation, or they can decide to stop being designated. In that list, there are 3 types of designated entities. There are business incubators. Okay, so we're used to the word incubator when we think about startups, right? So they will help people establishing their company. There are angel groups that are part of this list, and there are also venture capitalists. The third requirement here is language requirement. You will understand that if you want to ask Canada, to come and establish your business in Canada, well, you should be able to speak one of the 2 languages, one of the 2 official languages in Canada, that is English or French. Most of the people will be speaking English. So you need to pass a test and submit a test that is recognized, and you need to have level 5. So for those of you maybe familiar with the IELTS test, IELTS test, it would be overall 5 that you would need to be able to apply under this program. The last requirement is about settlement funds. Okay, so the last thing Canada wants is to have somebody to come, move to Canada saying they will start a business, but they don't even have money to be able to rent a house, buy the clothes, buy the food, and have electricity and a phone line. So they have what we call settlement funds. Every year they will update it. Terry, Toga, that's my mistake, but on the list here, it should be 2025, the year. So, because it just happened a month ago. So on July 29, 2025, they just updated these numbers. So here I give 2 examples. If you're alone, okay, you don't have a spouse, you don't have children, you would be applying alone. You would have to show that you have at least $15,263 in a bank account. And this, according to Canada, would be enough for you to live in Canada for 6 months. Okay. If we go further, a family of 7 would have to show that they have $40,392 to show Canada at the time of application. So these are the requirements. Characteristics, okay, so this is also because most of the programs in Canada, and we have a lot of immigration programs, we have more than 140 programs, they will set requirements for many, many aspects, okay? So management experience, work history experience, age, language we just saw. So there's a long list. The startup visa right now doesn't have many requirements. We just saw them, right? So you saw that the only one really was about the settlement fund and language requirements and getting, having a company which makes sense in Canada and finding the support of a designated entity. So there is no minimum management experience in the program regulation. But because of my experience and because of the market and everything, for sure, we would be looking with someone who has work history after some studies, and management experience is also a big plus. So we look at the profile to see whether you would be eligible for this program or not. So it's not a requirement to have had management experience in the past, but it's strongly encouraged. Maybe some of you are entrepreneurs already, so that also qualifies, of course. No prior physical presence in Canada is required. For some program, you need to show that you've been to Canada before, that you did your homework, you did an exploratory trip of some sort. For the startup, it doesn't matter. So if you haven't had the chance to go yet, but you did some research online and you really want to go to Canada and start up a business, it's not an obstacle. You don't have to go during the process either. Maybe for some of you, the first day you would be going would be the day that you would be landing in Canada to receive your permanent residency status. There is no net worth verification. Okay, so as we saw the slide before, they ask to see if you have enough money to survive 6 months in Canada. They don't ask you to have at least 500,000 Canadian dollars of worth. They don't ask, sorry. Of course, I would say that if you're willing to go to Canada and start up a business, settle yourself and or your family members, well, then you need more than the settlement funds that we've shown you, right? You would need to be able to demonstrate having a few hundred thousand Canadian dollars. But Canada will not ask to see your personal net worth. The startup performance, that's a question that we have a lot, and it's very normal. You're asking Canada to ask you to allow you to welcome you as a permanent resident based on a startup business, that you want to launch in Canada. So what if the business is not successful in the end? What if when it's operational, it takes years before it's profitable? That would not matter for this program, or it's not linked to your permanent resident status. The assessment of your business idea when you apply for the PR is only on the potential of this business idea. And I remember when Canada started this program in 2013, one of the ads was, 99% of the startup fail. But so, give it a chance and try to launch your business in Canada, because all over the world, the success rate of a startup is not very high, because you're starting up, you're trying something. So the financial success of your startup business in Canada is not linked to your PR. So if you become a PR and you decide to shut down the business because it doesn't have, that much viability anymore, or you have found a new project, or the business goes bankrupt, it doesn't matter. They will not, chase you and remove your permanent residency. We had a program like this in the past, so it does exist. It can exist in Canada, but right now it's not the case for the startup. So here are more details on the designated entities that I've mentioned before. So the 3 categories are there. So if you find the support of a venture capitalist, the VC will agree to invest 200,000 Canadian dollars in the venture when you get your PR, okay? And so because they do that, they benefit from a prioritized processing. It means that if you apply and that the designated entity that is supporting your business idea is a VC, then your application could be processed faster at IRCC. This is something new from April last year. The second group we see here is angel investors. So it's very similar, but they agree to invest 75,000 in the venture, okay, not 200,000. They also benefit from the prioritized processing. Now, the business incubators is the group where we have the most designated entities on the list. So it supports the startup. It has a normal processing time, okay, not the prioritized processing time, unless that business incubator would agree to invest 75,000 Canadian dollars in the venture, or if that business incubator is part of the Canada Tech Network, okay? So the list is very clear online. You can really see who is who and who benefits from the prioritized service. In the regulation, when IRCC developed this program, they said that a foreign national could apply alone for this program or could join forces with 4 other foreign nationals wanting to apply under this program. Okay, so you can team up to 5 people. So in the past, like myself, I was representing, it was overall like 40% were solo applicants. So a person that says, I'm coming to Canada, I want to launch this business, I'm going to be the sole owner of my business. And around 60% were teams, okay? Teams of 2, 3, 4, or 5 people joining forces together to start a business in Canada. But last year in April, again, they made a few changes back in April 2024. When the government said that each designated entity would only be able to support 10 startups per year, per calendar year. Okay, so some designated entities were supporting many applicants. We know some of them, some designated entities were supporting 300, 400 foreign national every year. We're issuing 300 to 400 letter of supports every year. Well, when they saw that, wait, what? Starting from now, I can only support 10 startups. But now that you can see on the slide that a startup business could be of 5 applicants together, then many, if not most, if not all of the designated entities right now say, well, if it's like that, I will only support teams of 5. Okay, so they want to maximize. So at the moment, I am representing hundreds of applicants, and I will tell you that ever since that announcement last year, I'm only seeing teams. But the regulation is still valid. There could be a solo applicant, it could be a team of 2 or 3. The only thing that I see right now, and other lawyers as well, is that then the fees would be a lot higher because there's a missed opportunity for the designated entity. On this very nice slide, you can see a list of industries that serves 2 goals here. It can show you like if your business experience, work experience, or your education is in these industries, then you probably have a good potential, a good profile for the startup visa. The other thing that it shows us is that in these industries, there's a lot of innovation that can be made. Okay, so most of the business ideas that hold like a great potential would be in these areas. Of course, there might be others. I'm just saying, the main ones. You can see artificial intelligence, software development, robotics, clean energy or technology. It's the future, right? So there's still a lot of innovation to make in these industries. So as I said, maybe you gathered, when I speak, the easiest for us is if you share with us your CV, or if you have a very detailed LinkedIn page, for example, and then we can make a preliminary assessment of your profile. And then we can talk later about, if this program is for you and what you'd like to do and what business idea you have or could be good for you. It's okay if you want to change, Thierry Toga, thank you. So here, I will be repeating myself maybe on 2 or 3 items here, but if you're interested in Canada, okay, this is the country you've decided that you would want to move to and launch a business. I'm sure you've seen a lot of things on the news ever since last year. It's been very dynamic. Not all the news are very positive. So here I'm highlighting 4 changes that have affected the startup visa. All immigration programs have been affected, some more than others. For example, with the startup visa, there's another program that's called the self-employed program. They're in the same category. It's been shut. Okay, last year they closed it. Just like that, they said, starting tomorrow, this program is closed. So that brings me to say that the Minister of Immigration has all the rights as per the regulation. So the Ministry of Immigration, they can launch new programs, they can suspend programs, they can modify programs, they can close programs. Okay. So everything I'm telling you here is available online on the official website of IRCC, Immigration Canada. But at any time, it can change. We never know, okay? And in the last year's changes, as I said, were made overnight. Before, like 10 years ago, when they wanted to change something to an immigration program, they would have to change the law. So it was a long process. They would ask, different groups like us, immigration lawyers, what we think, how we should do. Right now, it's not like that. It's public policies that just come up like this, okay? So there's 4 here on the right. So the first one, okay, let's take this one. So in October, like 10, 11 months ago, the government published the immigration level plans for the next 3 years. So they always do that. So this means that in 1 month or two, because sometimes it's October, sometimes it's November, the government will come and say, how many people do they want to accept in the country for the next 3 years? But it can change it the year after. But, we need to live with the numbers they give us. So in October, they said that for the SUV program, they would be admitting 1,000 to 2,000 applications for 2025. And for the years after, so 2026 and 7, only 1,000. Okay. So that means that the effect that this has is that the processing time, processing time is the time from the moment you have submitted your application until you get a decision on your application will be longer because they will be admitting people, more slowly into Canada. So that's stretching the processing time. So that's a big shift because the year before, so in October, well, it was November 2023, they announced that it would be 5,000 for SUV. Okay, so it shows you how they can change the numbers. This year as well, something that's new is that this immigration level plans usually was only for permanent residency. Now they have numbers for temporary residents as well. So you may have heard that it's more difficult to get a study permit, that it's more difficult to get a work permit, that it's even more difficult when you're in Canada to renew this permit. Okay, so this is what we're hearing. For the startup visa program, so again, it's permanent residency. You can be home in your home country waiting for the permanent residency to be accepted before you go to Canada, and that's fine. You will be developing your business remotely from your country. No problem with this. But there's always been an optional work permit option. Work permit. And last year, they've changed it in October to an open work permit. Okay, so that means it's open. It doesn't have to be attached to your startup. Okay, so of course, the point is that if you want to apply for this work permit, it's because you want to go to Canada, work on your startup from within Canada, because maybe it would make it easier. But now they say it's open because they recognize that with 3, 4 years, maybe 5 years of processing time, time to get your PR, it's quite long. So it's better that for people to be able to pay their bills if they're in Canada and everything, giving them an open work permit would allow them to take a job or to start another business or something like this, to generate income locally in Canada. And because getting PR now is longer, they also stretched it to 3 years. So before it was a closed work permit, only allowing you to be working for your startup and only for 1 year. Now, if you apply for this open work permit, it's 3 years. This work permit may sound super exciting because you could be in Canada, earlier than expected. And for some countries, it's quite fast to get the work permit. But you need to know that, moving your family and just becoming a temporary resident in Canada also has some risks or some challenges. You don't know if they will renew it or not. So you might have to go back home Also, while you're in Canada, you cannot, overstay your permit. If you do anything that's illegal in Canada, then you're caught. Then you can forget about permanent residency afterwards, right? So it's a big privilege to be granted a work permit, but it comes with a lot of responsibilities as well. So when assessing, profile, I always look and speak with the person, and the designated entity would also have something to say, like, yes, we think you could apply for a work permit or not. Third point, I've talked about that. So in April last year, the government limit all designated entities to only 10 startups per year. So that has created some sort of a quota hunt. There's less slots available. So what it did is that first, designated entities are looking for teams. So if you don't have business partners or family members who want to move with you, well, you'll be invited to maybe join a startup made of other people. And the other thing is that it increased a little bit the fees. So on my side, at Holborn, we have not increased our fees, but the fees of all the third parties included, it just made, when there's something that becomes rare, so because there's a quota, then, it's like this market rules. So that's it. Expedited processing, I talked about that. So on the same day, April 30th, they're starting prioritizing applications of applicants supported by VCs, angel investors, or the business incubators that invest or that are on the Canada Tech list. I will tell you that when they announced that, it was on the 29th, so that it was starting the next day. I was a bit skeptical about like a 2-speed program. I was a bit surprised. But a week or two later, I did see that, all the applications that were submitted for people I'm representing, the ones that were supported, by a VC, were moving faster than the ones supported by a business incubator that was not investing or not part of the Canada Tech network. So what we do at Holborn, because we have, our clients' interest at heart, is that we only work with designated entities that will give you the prioritized processing. Because even now, the processing time keeps on stretching. So, you don't want to be in that inventory for too long. So we have these two options at Holborn. I will say that the one with VC is the most popular ones because there are more VCs willing to support startups at the moment. Both, as you can see, say prioritize processing because of what I said. So if we would be working with a team supported by a person or a team supported by an incubator, it would be an incubator that benefits from the prioritized processing. So these fees that you see here, so 210 and from 250, they include everything that we find, not to say that we know, are needed to be successful for a startup. Okay, because there's a lot of things we will see in the next slides. Okay, so this is pretty much all the steps you have to go through to tick all the boxes of what is this program about and to be successful. Okay, well, on the left, profile qualification, of course, we will be looking at this, at your profile, and we will share. We have a business team made of PhD holders, engineers, and many different job titles in Canada. And so they know exactly what Canada needs. What is an innovative business? Does it exist already? Is this a true problem we have in Canada? And that will be solved by this business idea that's proposed and everything. Then you need to create a company in Canada. So incorporation, if you are more than one owner, you need the shareholders agreement, allocating the shares. You need to open a bank account with it, which is not easy if you're not in Canada, like for many countries, you'll tell me. Some account managing. Then, because it's a innovative business idea, there will be IP, intellectual property involved. So we do research to see whether it exists or not, or we draft all the legal documents so that you become the owner of this IP. On the left, at the bottom, product development. Well, you say you're going to start a business, so you need to show what it is. You need a prototype. Often it's a Often it's a MVP for minimum viable product. If we're talking about an app, a software, something like this, you need to take care of that. And then all the commercialization of your business. So you need to find a logo, what it will be, your colors, have a website. You need to have all your social handles ready, do some market validation, all of this. And remember, all of this needs to be in Canada, for the benefit of Canada. And then, of course, last box on the right is your immigration application. So the immigration application will include all these documents, or the documents that are ready, because there's different steps. Of course, you're not going to do this before, all of this before applying, but you apply and then you develop the business. So all these services, here are the steps. Okay, so we discuss, everybody does their due diligence, and then you agree to work with us. You would be making a first payment so that we solidify the relationship. And then step 2, we would be working on the concept. Okay, so some people do come to us with a business idea already. Okay, so they say, I would like to develop this. I had made my research, blah, blah, blah. If it's like this, we would be looking at the business idea, see whether yes or no, we think it ticks all the boxes of this program. Would Immigration Canada would be satisfied with this? If not entirely, then the business team would be suggesting some tweaks just to make it more online with what is expected. But many applicants do not really have a clear, or don't even have a business idea when they come and meet us. And so they work with our business team to find a business idea that fits, of course, their work history, their interest, their profile. If needed as well, it's written at step 2. We could see if there is a team already under creation that you could join if you need to be paired with someone. Step 3, then there's a training. So training to be able, to discussion to develop the idea, and we support you to be able to pitch this idea to a designated organization. After pitching the idea, then the designated entity would say whether they would like to support this idea or not. And then they would issue the LOS, letter of support. You cannot submit your application for immigration for the PR before you have this letter of support. Okay, so it's very important that you get one from one of the designated entities. Step 5, we would be preparing the immigration application and help you work on your business development. Okay, many steps. For the immigration application, some of you, I'm sure, have done visa application in the past. It's similar. So it's all about identification documents, relationship documents, proving your education, work history, having your passport. We need, and it's written at step 6, you need to submit a non-criminal record from all the countries you've lived ever since you're 18 years old, and where you've lived for 6 months in a row and more. Okay, so that's a little bit time consuming sometimes for some people, depending on which countries and how many countries they've lived in as an adult. So you need to do that. And step 5, sorry, I forgot to mention that we finally submit the PR application. So step 6, IRCC will come at one point and say, okay, we would like you and your family members to undergo the immigration medical examination. So you need to go to a panelist. So there are many clinics all over the world. You go there and you have a medical exam done by this physician. During this time, the business development continues. You need to continue developing your business all through out the processing of the permanent resident application. Then you're accepted. So step 7, you need to go to Canada. We call it the official landing. So you land in Canada, you meet with the border officer, and this is where they will confirm that you are now permanent resident of Canada. And a few weeks later, you receive your PR card. And here's a timeline of how it can look. So profile analysis, okay, so maybe you give us 1 or 2 days to do it. Business idea confirmation, it changes, it depends if you have an idea, if we tweak one of your ideas, or if we need to help you find an idea. Then get the letter of support. Yeah, maybe 3 months to get a letter of support. The designated entities are very diligent and they try to work efficiently. But they do, they have, if you would look, okay, you can, but if you would look at the regulation on the startup visa, there's actually more in the regulation for the designated entity. So it's very serious, how they can be designated and what is expected of them. They need to do a due diligence on you, the applicant, but also on the business idea itself, because what IRCC decided to do when they decided to designate an entity is to give them the responsibility of choosing the right ideas and the right people to come in and start the business in Canada. Then 6 weeks for the immigration application, it depends, we can start it before, it goes faster. For some people, it's longer because it's really difficult to get their documents, or they need to get all the documents translated. That may be time consuming. But we guide you for this, and then submit the application. And after that, well, it's all about waiting for Immigration Canada to maybe ask for more documents, to ask for updates, to ask for clarifications, to ask for the medical exam to be completed. And during this time, you do the business development. Like I said, your logo, the prototype, and things like this. So step by step, you do it. Everything can be done from outside, but should be done in Canada, even if you're outside, or can be done in Canada if you're eligible to apply for a work permit. I think that's the last slide. Yeah, okay. So this slide is about Canada, but most of you may know about this. So the most known cities are Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Now that brings me to say that for this program, you can move or you can live anywhere in Canada besides Quebec province, which is known as the French speaker province, which is not entirely true. You can speak English when in this province, but anyway, so it's everywhere outside Quebec province. As you know, it's Canada is the second largest country in the world. It's 10 million square kilometers, and our capital is Ottawa. Population of only, now it's changed. Oh yeah, maybe we could update that. I'm gonna write a note. Last time I saw it, people say that we're 40 or 41 million now in Canada. Yeah, it's a great country, welcoming of diversity, and has still a good reputation for being peaceful, stable. Although right now, we have news from everywhere that it's not that easy, but I think Canada is still a great country to start a new chapter of your life, to bring your family and live in, or to find, your next love and establish a family over there. So yeah, Holborn has been known for advising people all over the world for financial products, and more recently for mobility, which I've been doing for a long time already. So it is a fact that your passport, where you lived, is kind of dictating if it will be easy for you to travel the world, or even to apply for a job abroad, or even to apply for studies abroad. So global mobility has been, the new kid around the block. Everybody wants to have a second PR or a second passport somewhere just to facilitate a few things. And Holborn has become one of the top firms where people go to. And we have successfully supported a lot of people already. So if you want to work with us, it would be a pleasure. We can answer your questions right here, right now. I mean, in the next 10 minutes, I don't know. And afterwards, if you think of something, please do reach out and we will try to answer as quick as possible. Thank you, Thierry Toga, for changing the slides for me.
No, pleasure. I guess at this time we can open it up to questions. Feel free to type questions in the chat box, and Catherine or myself will answer them.
I can just talk if you don't mind, and you can stop me. I just wanted to maybe not reassure, I don't know if reassure is the right word, but with everything that we hear in Canada about immigration, they're trying to reduce the number of people on temporary residence here and everything, that the startup visa is a very nice program because it's what Canada wants and still wants with the new government and everything. They want to bring in talent and skills to Canada. And it's bringing people who are able to creating their own jobs and create jobs for others. So it takes a lot of boxes, Of course, I'm not part of the government. I don't know what they will do. They can change the program. Among lawyers, we know exactly what they could change in the program, or they could close it if they wanted, as I said earlier. But it is exactly, if you read in the news, this is what we want. And through this program, they can get it. And they've had so many successful, cases before. I just wanted to say that.
Sure. Two questions here. The first part, somebody shared their LinkedIn profile, and so I'll turn that into a question. Can a lot of people just submit their LinkedIn profiles to you, Catherine, and can this be part of their pre-screening process? Or would you need a physical copy of their CV resume?
I would say it depends on how well, you've prepared your LinkedIn page. If we can see your education, post-secondary education, of course, any skills or any qualifications, and work history, like the big recent, at least, if we can see at least 10 years of work history, we can, it's a good way to start. And then if it's not enough, then maybe I could ask, for a CV. But I do understand that a CV is not always ready, when we're, I don't know, I'm going to say 40 plus and in the job for a few years, we don't think of updating, for sure, I don't have a CV that's ready if you ask mine. But we can start with a LinkedIn that's well done. And then maybe just ask questions. And if we find a need, then I would say it would also depend on the designated entity. But for sure, in the application, you will have to prepare a CV at one point. We will ask you to prepare a CV. But if you don't have it ready for pre-qualification, let's work with LinkedIn.
All right. And are there any fees paid to us during the processing of the paperwork? And if so, how much?
I'm not sure I understand, but so the fees that we've shown in the presentation, they include everything on our part. Okay. It's, how can I say this? It's a turnkey fee. Because I know some people ask for a little bit and then they ask for more and then they ask for more. So at the end, people don't know how much they will have to disburse, right? I don't like this. I'm all for transparency. So this fee covers everything. So we will not knock on your door and ask for more, but you will have some fees, for example, translation fees. If you need to have a document notarized, you will have to pay the notary public, right? The IELTS test, you will have to pay for your English test. Sometimes you have to pay to get the non-criminal records. If you need courier to send something, not to us because everything is virtual or digital, but you will have to pay for this. The medical examination, you will have to pay. Biometrics. Okay. So beside the numbers we've shown, you have to pay IRCC fees. Okay. The government fees. So it's about, let's say around 4,000 Canadian dollars for all the fees. But again, it depends if you're a solo applicant or a family of 7, and if you're applying for a work permit, but it's just a few thousands and you can find it on internet.
Okay. And then in terms of the breakdown of the payment,
Mm.
is the initial payment based on each case or standard, and what is the cost initially?
Okay. Well, it's pretty much standard, but it will change with family size.
Hmm.
So usually it's 2 to 3 installments in total.
Hmm.
And all the fees are paid before. So the three, so let's say it's 3 installments, will be paid before we actually submit the application to IRCC because, yeah. So the fees, yeah, maybe I should try to break it down like this, but right now I'm not too sure. Would it be something like 40%, 40%, 20%? I think it's about that.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And then another question, just trying to understand the role of venture capital firms. Do they focus more? Do they support with capital after the supporting letter of investment, or do they help individuals with that to network with other key partners?
Did you ask about the VC only or just any designated organization?
It's the question is on VC venture capital supports. What the role the venture capital firms have in the process.
Okay. So they will invest, they commit to invest 200,000 Canadian dollars in the project. Okay. So that's not a fee, right? This is what they commit to invest in the venture. And they will provide some support after having issued the letter of support. Um, so they're not super active because it's the applicant, right, who needs to be active. It's an active investment program. It's not a passive one, as you've seen in the presentation. But yeah, they can provide some links to their network.
Okay.
We have created a program, so it's an 18 steps program where we support also all our clients to get more familiar with what it's going to be like in Canada, how to get subsidies from the government, how to be networking, where to go for this and that, tax. So we provide this training for all our clients as well.
Sure. And I guess we can end on this question.
Okay.
What happens if the application is rejected, and is there any support that we give to ensure that the applications that go to IRCC are good applications?
Okay, so first, I'm in the business of only accepting to represent an applicant if I think it can be successful. Okay, so if I don't think the application can be successful, I will tell you from the beginning and I will not be willing to represent you for your file. And I might tell you why, so that if you go around to see other people, you can really, really check. My success rate myself, I'm talking because I'm the one on paper who is representing the client, is 99% acceptation rate for all the programs I've done, investors, self-employed entrepreneurs, and now startup visa. So we only submit the application when we think it's the best it can be. We always, with the applicant, I guide them. We always reply to IRCC on time. If we need an extension, we ask for it. We always submit the best document, all accurate information. You need to be truthful. That's really important. Honesty goes a long way in immigration. And then there is a mechanism, like before refusing the permanent residency application, IRCC should issue what we call a PFL. So it's a procedural fairness letter where they say, I have this concern. I give you 30 days to tell me about this, to respond to my concern. So that gives you, like, say, a last chance to convince, before they refuse you. So then they can accept you and they can refuse you in the end if they're still not satisfied. So if it's a refusal, a simple refusal, they're just not satisfied, okay, then you could go to court if you have something that you can really say that IRCC has not processed your file correctly. The only problem is if you are not only refused, but you're found to be inadmissible because you've lied in your application. Well, then that's another story, right? So when I represent someone, we have transparent, straightforward conversation because it's better that I know everything and that the application is truthful and accurate to avoid being found inadmissible by the government. If you are refused, then we have a refund policy. It depends on what is the ground of refusal. If it's your doing because you lied on the application or you provided us with a fake document, then the refund policy is not really generous. And then if it's IRCC and they're justified, then it's another situation. So this is how it works.
All right, thank you. And we'll definitely be reaching out to schedule more one-on-ones for any questions that we didn't get to. But I think this is a good point to end. Definitely thank you, Catherine, for joining today, and thank you to everybody that attended this webinar. Take care.
Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.